Hey there, lady. My name is Molly Conley, and I'm devoted to helping women reinvent their love lives, whether that's after divorce, dating on and off the apps, or in their committed relationship. Why? Because I've been there. I'm a former college athlete who filed for divorce 3 years into marriage, swam in the online dating pool into my late 30s, and now I am married to the man of my spreadsheet dreams who I met 4 months before the world shut down. As a dating and relationship coach, I help my clients shift the focus from being obsessed with finding Mr. Right to shifting to herself as Miss Right Now. We build a foundation filled with clarity, connection, and confidence, knowing she is worth waiting for. Each week on the podcast, I'll bring you love life insights and savvy guests, where you will receive the courage to release programmed limiting beliefs. Discover patterns and behaviors restricting you from finding and attracting quality men, and ways to choose yourself first so you can build a foundation for a healthy relationship with yourself and a partner. Hey there, lady. How are you? I am so happy to have you here with me on the Reinventing the Arena podcast. There's been a lot of new listeners lately, so welcome if this is one of your first listens. So a few episodes ago, I think it was episode 47, it's called Healing from Heartbreak. I talked about the science behind a breakup and how your brain and heart engage in some of those behaviors we have afterwards. I also brought up how healing the past relationships, my failed marriage, and working through a lot of self-discovery made dating and finding my husband a whole lot easier. That's because I believe doing the inner work is the most effective and important process to building a healthy relationship. It builds a foundation with yourself, and then it makes it more effective when you are dating for a long-term relationship. Since you're listening, possibly you enjoy the self-development, the inner work, and the self-discovery. But when I start talking about the self-care, people think I'm talking about bubble baths, spa days, wine nights with girlfriends. Not at all. I believe that self-care, self-trust, self-worth, and self-love all work together, building part of that foundation. I discussed how the real self-care, doing the inner work, can help you connect with loving yourself more. There were 3 shifts to take to help you develop all 4 areas that I discussed: self-care, self-trust, self-worth, and self-love. A lot of people don't realize how those 4 areas are interconnected, which is why a lot of us get stuck trusting ourselves and knowing our worth, especially in relationships. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how to trust yourself when looking for love. It can be hard to trust yourself at different times in your life, especially when you're going to do that inner work. You're having to confront, your past self, her actions, thoughts, and emotions, and that can bring up a whole lot of questions surrounding, what ifs, or did I do the right thing, or maybe I made a mistake and now what? As you peel back the layers to get to your core self, you'll be questioning not only yourself, but everything you've learned and the people surrounding you. All of that is normal. So in my first marriage, I didn't trust myself before I said yes. I was being influenced quite a bit by those around me and by societal expectations, graduating college, and then the next step would be getting married, buying a house, and blah, 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 blah. I literally thought other people knew more about love than myself, and it really did show. When I had my rock bottom moment in my marriage, I thought I could fix it all. But I couldn't do it alone, and he wasn't fully committed to doing the real work it would take to mend our marriage. I talk more about this moment in episode 43, and it's on my website too. But when I decided to choose myself, it was a decision I didn't take lightly, and I was fucking scared. I was scared of so many things, like what people would say or think of me. Where would I live? Would anyone help me? Would I lose friends? Would I, lose family members? But most of all, the question that came up was, would I ever find someone to love me? Here I had to take the risk and, make a leap. I knew staying in the relationship was going to lead me down a darker path that I honestly have fought before, which, is beyond depression. And knowing that, I had to remind myself, I can do hard things. I can rely on myself to get through tough moments and tough times. This is what I like to call the spark that's going to start the fire. Like that first match when it's lit. Because here, you know that there is one person that you can count on, and that's yourself. Of course, this is not where we stay as we grow and do the inner work. We expand our awareness, our acceptance, and love for others. But, at times, this is what ignites our belief in ourselves to take that leap and trust that, no matter what, you can make the choices to get you where you want to go. So learning how to trust yourself takes risk because you have to stop playing in your comfort zone. You have to stop playing small, meaning you have been probably letting other people dictate or run your life in some sort of way, whether what's learning what's right and wrong at an early age, and then you carry that into your relationships, or society tells you to do the linear path like I thought I had to do. Because honestly, there was a time in my first marriage that I thought to myself, is this really love? Is this really it? Is this, really how I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life with this man who doesn't give a flying fuck about me? Am I going to settle for, this hypothetical marriage and love when I know there's better out there? I just had to take the leap and go for it. And, taking the leap is scary, like I mentioned, because things do happen that you're not expecting. One of the things that I didn't expect for me was losing a lot of friends. And I had family members question me and telling me I did the wrong thing. And honestly, I was in a spot where my parents were actually angry that I got divorced. It took a lot of communication with my family, explaining the reasoning behind why I got divorced and showing them how I didn't feel loved or cared for in the way that I hoped with that ex-husband. In fact, I remember this moment where I was going through old photos when I was unpacking after leaving my ex-husband and moving into my own apartment, where I found our wedding photos. And in that, I had photos of my parents and my grandparents on their wedding days, or photos that were very reminiscent of, a moment where they looked great together, happy and in love. So I'm actually looking at it right now because these are the pictures of my grandparents on my mom's side, and they have actually passed away. And when I'm looking at it, I can see that my grandparents aren't looking at the camera. They aren't looking at the photographer. They're looking right in each other's eyes. And you can see how much they love each other. And so when I told my mom that my ex-husband never looked at me like that, I mean ever, that he deep down knew he loved me just by the way he looked at me. Words are important, but sometimes the words left unspoken are the loudest. So my goal, my mission when I was looking for a real loving relationship was having a man look at me like that, like my grandparents looked at each other, giving me the feeling of being, accepted for who I am, loved for who I am, and supported for who I would become in our relationship. Having the example of my family members allowed me to fully believe that there was something better out there. I was able to trust myself because I saw it in other people. I was able to take the leap and trust myself that I was making the right decision for me long term. So in love, you need to pay attention to your patterns. You need to pay attention to what you're really drawn to and how your inner work is starting to pull out more of you versus being in patterns of, like I said, society or family members or whatnot have told you that you need to do. Right now, as you're listening to me and I'm sharing the risks that I took to, get out of a marriage that didn't satisfy me after trying so hard. Like I said, you can listen back on episode 43 or read on my website. That it took a lot for me to end that marriage. Because deep down right now, as you're listening to me, sharing the different risks that I have taken for myself, I had to trust that I was going to find love. I had to trust myself, knowing that there was someone else out there that was just better suited for me. Right now there is something you need to do, something you need to change in your life because you're not happy. Maybe you can relate to my story, but know that the change that you're thinking of right now can happen. We can't, though, control other people, not at all. And the only person you can control is yourself. So if you're hoping that your partner is going to make a change, I'm sorry, that's probably not going to happen. You are the only person that can make a change and take a risk for yourself. So when you hear me say that, what are you thinking? What is it? What is it for you? What is it that you need to change? What is that change that you need to make that you know is going to bring you closer to what your heart truly desires? The leap is eventually going to help you trust yourself over and over again, pushing yourself outside that comfort zone, pushing you to say yes to you more. So even if it's not a relationship, maybe, what needs to change is like leaving your job and finding another one, or moving out of state, moving out of country, or maybe just changing up your wardrobe. Whatever it is that you feel that nudge, you feel that desire. And as you keep trying to cover up, it's only going to get louder. So listen to that nudge, feel that gut feeling, and trust yourself. You do know what needs to change. Trust yourself enough to choose yourself first and start making that change today. And when I made my change, I did feel kind of misplaced and somewhat uncomfortable. I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants, but it was for a very short amount of time. What it did give me was more control over my life, and it allowed me to replenish myself, to start taking action, to discover myself. Even though the next 2 years after my divorce, I really didn't see how to do that. It wasn't until I broke through a sabotaging behavior, it's uprooting, I had done that. I then was able to give myself the space, and I was allowing myself to say that I was tired of my own bullshit. I wanted to be in love, and I wanted to find someone who was going to love me for me. So when I say I'm tired of my bullshit, I mean that I'm tired of being the victim. I was tired of saying things like, oh, I'm just bad at picking the men, or I never can choose the right guy, or all the guys are wrong for me. I was pushing excuses upon excuses of why I wasn't married or why I wasn't in love yet, thinking that all I had to do was find the next person. But I really needed to look inward and be like, oh, what am I doing here? Oh, I'm playing the victim. Oh, poor me. I'm single at 35, damn it. Why can't I find someone to love me? Maybe you say something similar. And I would say something like, why can't I find someone to love me? Well, my old self. Why? Because I didn't fucking love myself enough, because I didn't trust myself. I didn't see my worth. I didn't see my value. I don't, care for myself the way that I wanted to be cared for. So why do I think that someone else is going to love me for me if I can't even love myself? That's how all this goes. So if you're sitting here listening to this podcast and being like, well, I'm always the victim. My boyfriend treats me like shit. My husband is an asshole. Or maybe you're not even, thinking that. You just want to learn how to communicate your needs. You need to stop playing the victim and be able to do the work, because when you love yourself and value yourself and see your worth and trust yourself and care for yourself, this is going to be a whole lot easier. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, obviously. That's because a lot of people that just want to swipe, and have that fantastic first date and fall in love and get on The Bachelor, whatever the hell it is, they are not doing the real work. And the more that you do that, the swiping or jumping from relationship to relationship or pretending that you live in a romance movie, you are going to have more of that superficial moments of a relationship. You're going to have more of the surface level feelings and emotions, that you're going to have more of the going through the motions of the hypothetical dream life that maybe you don't even know you really want. Don't be afraid to choose yourself and let go of your past self of being the victim. Don't be afraid to choose yourself and take control of your life. Don't be afraid to choose yourself and learn from your experiences. Don't be afraid to lean into your intuition and take the leap of faith to trust that you know more than what you know right now. And yes, learning to trust yourself long term takes time. It takes awareness of how you experience your emotions and how you interpret them, where your assumptions come up in your life, maybe even what triggers you into past moments where you react versus respond. Also, you have other questions like, what's your attachment style? How are you engaging in your relationships? Are your relationship dynamics similar to your parents? And is that something you really want? Or do you want to break free from that? How are your sabotaging behaviors? Where are they sabotaging your love life? Are you running from one relationship to the next without fully giving yourself the space for a few months, if not more, to fully learn from that experience? There are so many different things to discuss depending on your situation. There are so many different things to look through because you're a unique individual and the path to finding love for you is unique like yourself. But for you to feel loved, accepted for who you are, and enjoy your life with a partner, you have to know yourself so much that it's not scary to stand alone, by yourself, for yourself, because you have chosen yourself. Usually, when I work with a client on building their self-trust, we have done a lot of inner work and we have also started to uncover what's true for them. And what we realize, what is true for them is not going to be true for their parents or other people. So that includes what's not true might not be, or what's true for them might not be the social norms, that the perfection of the American dream or whatever we've been taught since the 1950s. Like, your truth is not my truth. Some of you may feel like none of this is resonating. Some of you might be thinking, okay, Molly, all I really need to do is learn how to have an authentic conversation with my husband without getting emotional. I totally understand that. But if you're a single woman who keeps attracting horrible, toxic men, maybe you're a woman who can't seem to find the man that you're wanting through online dating, or maybe you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and you still can't seem to figure out why you can't find anyone, it's time to do the inner work. It's really getting into the meat of you and flip into, why don't you love yourself? Why don't you see your worth? Why don't you trust yourself? Why don't you care for yourself? So that you can fully finish out that foundation, right? So that you can say, I've already peeled back the layers, but I don't have the self-trust. I don't have the self-worth. Why is that missing? I don't know. Let's figure it out together. But like I said, that is looking at what is true for you versus the universal truth. So I have a reel on Instagram that I shared sometime last year in the fall where I talked about what is true for me, and that is that I like candy corn. And last weekend, I told my husband as we were going through Target that I can't wait for candy corn to come out. And he's like, it's August. And I'm like, yeah, but they're already selling Halloween costumes. So I can't wait to have candy corn. That's my truth. A universal truth is the history of candy corn. So it came out, during the 1880s, I think, and it used to be called chicken feed. That is a universal truth. But another truth, one that might be for you, is that you hate candy corn. And that's okay, because that's your truth and it's not mine. Learning what your truths are will help you realize how unique you are and build that self-acceptance, expand your self-awareness so that you can say what's true for you in a relationship. So another example of a truth, one of mine for being in a relationship, is that I have to have honesty. 100%, I have to have it. So what sucks is that if you're my friend and you lie to me, or a family member, or even my husband, getting my trust back is almost impossible. It takes a very long time for me to trust you. And once you have screwed me over in any sort of way, have lied to me or anything, my past self would 100% say that. But who I am today, I basically have learned that I don't associate with people that give me that vibe that I can't trust them. Because I have learned that I have a gut feeling towards certain people, and I have to explore what that gut feeling is telling me. Is it my intuition or is it fear? If I figure out it's fear, I need to look at what the fear is and where it's coming from. Maybe it's about the person. Do they have similar habits to someone that I used to know that I don't like? Do they approach a situation in a way that I don't feel is safe? All of those factors are going to give me what is my truth, what do I believe, and how would I like to act around this person. It's also going to allow me to say, do I want to trust this person or do I not? What level of trust am I going to or be willing to give them? What level of trust am I allowing myself to be open and show my authentic self to this person? This is an area where you build into because you start to learn what is true for you, and then you start to see how your patterns may be affecting you. You also have to lean into what your body is telling you, like what is that feeling? These are the things that we work on when you need to build your trust, as well as when you need to keep learning on how to trust yourself, develop that intuition, and that feeling of self-worth will build. In fact, it builds 10 times faster than just working on your self-worth alone. Like saying affirmations, all I want in the mirror, isn't going to make me trust myself more. No, taking action, taking risks, going for the things that I want, that is all going to build trust in myself. That is all going to help me build connection to myself. And that is going to show that I'm worthy, that I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of other people loving me, as well as I'm caring for myself by showing up authentically and having the freedom to share my voice, right? So in building love inside and out, there is 1 week where we go through this, and it's week 5 of working through building your foundation for your future self. It's about building, creating, and deepening your self-trust and self-worth so you can recognize your fears, recognize your value, and hone in your intuition. During that week, we're going to work through what are your truths and what are the universal truths around that similar subject so that you can prove to yourself that, okay, I maybe have some conditioning in this area, but what do I want for me? What is my truth around this in my love life, in my relationships, in dating, or as being a single woman? And when we do that, and you might get stuck, all you have to do is reach out to me and we would work through those. We're going to talk about how those 4 areas are interconnected: self-care, self-trust, self-worth, self-love. We're going to dig into what really makes you feel valuable, what makes you feel worthy of love in a relationship, and even loving yourself more. All of these areas are going to be at a very high level so that we can break them down per individual. And we're also going to lean into something I talked about earlier, which is figuring out, is that your intuition or is it fear? This is something that I find with my clients who've gone through horrible breakups, maybe even a bad divorce, and they can't trust themselves to make the right decision, in that next relationship or if that next person, to see if they're right for them. So when they're going through this, they might have an instance where their body, they feel it, jump back in fear, or they feel anxious. Maybe their stomach is rumbling, they're sweating, maybe they feel uncomfortable, maybe they feel like they're nauseous, right? So all of what your body is saying to you is 100% valid. It's 100% acceptable because you and your body knows more than your brain majority of the time. And that's part of somatic healing. And that's something I'm not going to get into right now, but we'll have a guest who's going to be talking about that sometime soon. But we have to take those situations that our body is responding to and be like, are we safe? We have to acknowledge that our body knows. The body is reacting. It's not responding. It's reacting to something that is similar because it's like, oh, this happened before, and now I need to make you either freeze, flight, fight, or fawn to get out of the situation. But your intuition is different. It's not the fear, and we need to decipher for you what that is so you can start making choices from an intuitive level. Then we can move forward later on and discuss, how do you trust yourself? How do you take action with confidence? How do you effectively and efficiently make decisions in your love life that you know are going to be helpful long term, even if that means taking a risk for yourself because you're choosing yourself first? If this sounds like something you want to do, whether that's through one-on-one coaching with me, or if that's something that you want to do with other women in the group coaching program, all you have to do is apply. I'm going to put the application in the show notes, but Building Love Inside and Out is going to be closing its doors Friday, September 1st. And I'm only taking 10 women into the program, and women are already applying. I'm going to be looking through the applications on August 25th for those of you who are listening and have already applied. I just wanted to let you know I haven't gotten the chance to do so. My husband and I are taking a 2-week vacation to the mountains in Colorado starting August 28th. Yeah. So when I get back on September 11th, those that have been accepted in the program, you're going to receive an offer email, meaning you have been accepted and here's what you need to do for the next steps. Then we start on Monday, September 18th. Now, if someone does not respond to that email to be in the group, then I will be going to the next lady on that list that I think is a good fit. If you want more information about what I'm covering in the other weeks, you can go to my website, reinventingthearena.com/building love inside and out. You can also go back and start listening to the podcast episodes, starting with episode 51, because that's going to go over week 1 information, and then 52 will go over week 2 and so forth. Next week, I am going to be covering boundaries on episode 56 so that you can create boundaries for a healthy relationship to self that's going to allow you to prioritize yourself first in and out of love. Then episode 57 comes out on Thursday next week, which is about getting crystal clear on your love life because you want to have relationship clarity. And right now, I bet you don't know 100% what you need so that you can step into the version of you who is in a healthy relationship. The following week is episode 58. We're going to be talking about showing up with love as your future self, recognizing your new self with confidence and contentment so you can make efficient dating decisions and intentionally choose yourself first for the long term. Okay, lady, thank you so much for joining me today. I have been really passionate about this trusting topic lately. So if you are interested in applying for Building Love Inside and Out, do so as soon as possible. Like I said, I'm going to be looking over applications on Friday, August 25th before we go out of town. Otherwise, I'll be looking at them closer to September 10th, and we'll be sending out those accepting emails on September 11th and 12th. All right, lady, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If this show has helped you in some way, big or small, please let me know by leaving a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It really helps other women just like you find the show. Have a good rest of your day, lady, and I will talk to you next time.